Quick disclaimer, we are not investigative journalists. We simply read, watch, and listen to whatever we can to satisfy our curiosity while use this information to form our own personal opinions. Do not take this as investigative journalism. This is simply our own rabbit holes.
Hello, friends, and get ready. We're going to talk about the docs, the crimes, and all the people involved. This is Crime and Chill. Hey guys, I'm Victoria.
I'm Rachel.
Happy New Year, everybody. It's 2022 now.
It's our first episode of 2022, too.
Exciting! We're weird. It's fine.
I'm very excited.
Okay, so did you have a good New Year's?
I did. It was uneventful. We hung out.
Same.
Listened to fireworks for 3 days straight.
Luckily, our fireworks in our area was not that bad.
I don't understand. It was fucking raining.
I know.
And these people were still blowing off fireworks.
So they really were chill and only had like a couple going off. So it was quiet until like we had a couple, and then until like right at midnight. Then of course, even though it was raining, they still went nuts. My poor dogs were terrified.
Yeah,
one more so than the other.
Ours went from literally the minute it got dark until about 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's ridiculous. Okay, so let's talk.
Crime news.
So not crime related, but we have to talk about it. Betty White did die on New Year's Eve. I was not okay.
Part of me was like, this has to be crime related though, because literally all we said in 2021 was if this woman lives,
we're gonna be fine.
It's like that was the like 2021 would be okay as long as Betty White made it to her 100th birthday, which is going to be January 17th.
Yeah.
But all she had to do was make it 2 more weeks. And what was crazy was how like 3 days before this, she gives an interview with People magazine.
Yeah.
And I saved it. And I don't save magazines. Like, I'm not that... I used to be, but I saved it. I'm glad it wasn't one that I ripped up or anything for our vision boards.
Yeah.
But she had just given an interview. She was like, it's great to be 99 years old and feeling good. And
that's why everybody's like, how could she just die of
and then,
natural causes in her sleep if she was feeling great? I'm like, because your body gives out.
And it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Not everyone's given that kind of blessing.
Okay, so... awful person here. I feel bad, and I wish she would have made it longer than the dog that she had, because the dog now does not know what happened.
I know.
Also, Betty White is goals.
Do you
26
know,
fucking dogs and no fucking children. Goals.
Do you know Betty White has donated to Riverbank Zoo in South Carolina and has her own plaque?
I didn't know that. I will look for it next time I go.
I did not know either. It was posted on their website, and I'm going to go look for it the next time.
So that is very sad. We are not okay. I am not handling it well. Somebody told me today, actually, they were like, did you see the thing of what everybody's saying? And I said, no, what are you talking about? And they said, Kobe Bryant's death opened up Pandora's box. Betty White's dying closed it. And I said, listen, no, I didn't want her to close it.
Okay, but let's hope that that's true, because...
I'm ready for the fuckery to be over.
Because, like, for real, like, look at when the helicopter crash happened and when the world went to shit.
Yeah.
So let's hope... That was a true statement, and I really like that statement, because she didn't die of violent death, she didn't die of horrible disease, she literally felt great, went to bed, had a good night's sleep, and never, I mean, we can all be so blessed to live
to 99, feeling great, and then just go in our sleep.
Yeah, I mean, that is a blessing, so
I know that most of us are not okay with it.
But let's just hope that was the end of Pandora's box.
I cried a lot.
Oh. I literally, when you texted me, I was literally on the voice chatting you, because I was in the car, and I guess it never sent, but it like blasted through the news radio, and I was like,
yeah, my mom messaged me. She's like, are you still at work? And I said, no, I was at a park going for Clay to play disc golf, and I said, why, what's up? And she said, Betty White, and I said, what about her? Because we had just been talking about her at my house with my father-in-law and everything, and I'm like, then she said, and I said, no.
We should all have a Golden Girls binge day.
I love it. To crime.
To crime.
Ghislain Maxwell, if you don't know, she was Jeffrey Epstein's longtime quote-unquote business associate. She was found guilty on 5 out of 6 charges in a sex abuse case. Thank God. But she is apparently not going to be flipping on associates. And I'm like, bitch, if you don't flip.
So I had hoped that she was like the Peter Pan Wendy situation before like the trial got into everything. Like maybe she was groomed.
Yeah.
To follow whatever he said.
Which is what a lot of people thought. And also what defense tried to use.
And what I would have been okay with. I would have agreed that this is probably the case. But the fact that she won't flip now proves to me that it wasn't that situation.
So, Trial went on. Jurors took 5 full days before finding her guilty. The maximum prison sentence for each charge is like 5 to 40 years, depending. So she's probably facing a long time prison time. I have not seen when they are going to be doing the sentencing.
They said a couple months.
Yeah, so it's gonna be
There's
a while.
no rush. I mean, she's stuck in the prison anyway, so
Yeah.
it's not like she's getting out anytime soon, even if they did do sentencing.
But this also, to me, this is going to set a precedent because Prince Andrew out of England is currently facing charges lawsuits from a teenage girl.
Wasn't one of the Clintons connected to this too? And I haven't heard anything about them hearing any trauma.
I'm not speaking on that.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, their names were in the manifesto.
Tom Hanks' name was on the manifesto.
And I don't believe Tom Hanks would ever.
Tom Hanks moved to Greece.
I don't believe that Tom Hanks would ever do anything. I'm sorry. I don't care. I love him too much. I don't want to think about it.
I hope not. I would hope that half these people, it was not what they thought. They thought it was something else. And that's why they went to the island. Because, I mean, fucking Stephen Hawking was there.
He ain't doing shit.
He ain't doing shit. I'm sorry.
I mean, I think there was other reasons to go there.
Yeah.
Then I think there was other criminal reasons to go there.
That and also business stuff was probably happening.
I'm thinking business criminally wise.
Mm-hmm.
Was money being hidden by these famous people? I mean,
Duh.
But I don't think Tom Hanks touched a girl inappropriately. I'm sorry, I can't. He's fucking, no.
He's too precious.
He's Toy Story. Can't happen.
Toy Story Forrest Gump. We can't let that happen.
Nah.
Wait, no.
I can see Clinton. I cannot see Tom Hanks. I'm sorry. I can't. Okay?
Some shit was probably going on, but not all of it was related to that. Obviously, we know it was now going on because she was found guilty of 5 out of 6 charges, which means that's what was going on. She was at least grooming girls for Epstein, which Epstein and all that shit also ties back into McAfee.
Yeah, I was
so if you want to go back and listen to our McAfee episode and learn about him, and then go look at his fucking social medias. That was a fucking insane episode to do, guys. So you really should go check that one out.
It was a lot of drama.
It was a lot. So, we are on episode 5 of the Murdaugh Files.
I have now clocked way too many hours into this family. I'm just saying, like, 3 different podcasts I listen to. Anytime there's, like, a documentary done now, I watch. I mean, like, it's getting obsessive. I'm really glad this is the last episode.
It has been obsessive for you for a long time.
I'm really glad this is the last episode because I'm walking away after this.
I mean, it's the last episode for now. We are going to have to revisit it at some point.
I mean, according to Eric Bland, this is 5 years.
Yeah, so
at minimum before they go to trial. So, in 5 years, if you guys are still listening to us, yes, we might talk about Alex Murdaugh again, but to be honest,
this is enough.
I've just gotten to the point that, like, I'm not part of this family. I don't live in this area. This man has never, I don't know, it's gotten to the point that it's like, okay.
I'm glad you're getting to that point on your own because I was getting concerned about you.
I have a new obsession.
Oh, great.
That we're going to talk about. But that doesn't last as long, and it is a one and done. I've rabbit holed it in 24 hours, and there's nothing else for it, so.
Great. All right, so what are we talking about in this final episode of the Murdaugh Files?
So we went over every suspicion of death to the Murdaughs already.
Yeah, so quick recap, we've talked about
Stephen Smith,
Gloria
Satterfield, the double homicide of his wife and son,
and the boating accident with the death of Mallory Beach.
Yep.
So, if you haven't heard that, go back to episode 1 of the Murdaugh Files, which is not as well played as the other episodes, and I don't understand why, but so you guys are missing out some good stuff on episode 1.
Yeah, well, I think if you can listen to today's episode and then go back and listen to all the other ones.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be in order.
It'll make a lot more of, like, what the fuck was going on once you hear the backstory that they found out after.
So I highly suggest that after you listen to this episode, maybe going back and listening again, because then it's going to connect more dots for you.
Or more like, what the fuck? I don't know.
So, before we get into everything with Murdaugh, with what he's been doing, on episode 3 of the Murdaugh Files on our YouTube channel, if you did not know, we have a YouTube channel where we also post the podcast. You should go subscribe and like things there. But Kim Fisher, who has commented on our videos, I think that's twice now. I like her. She seems like a nice lady. I want to be friends with you, Kim. She commented on part 3 of And she said, insurance companies don't make money by paying claims without an investigation. It seems that the insurance company didn't do much, if any, investigation. I would think they would at least require proof of death certificate. If it read natural causes, wouldn't that disqualify coverage?
Okay. And I think we gave her like a short, like...
Yeah, Rachel responded and said, I've wondered the same thing. It's been brought up before in our episode after the new year. I will be addressing this.
Okay. So, I have thought about this a couple different ways. Regardless, if she obviously had to trip and fall. She was in the hospital. Does it mean that the insurance company paid out for wrongful death? We don't know that. What we know is they paid for an injury.
Yes.
And there was evidence of that. They might not have needed the death certificate to pay out, because even though she was dead at the time of the court case, they still would have to pay the estate for the injury on his property.
Right.
Because we really don't know if the wrongful death is what the insurance company paid out. We just know they paid out.
Right, which it's known, it's not up for debate where the accident happened.
Yes.
It happened on the Murdaugh property.
It was a 911 call in place that has now been released to the public. They never hid it from anybody that she had slipped on the property and fell. All of that was well documented.
Yeah. And
then also, insurance companies will look at the overall, and not in this case. This was obvious. She tripped and fell. There was a 911 call. There was documentation. But for other cases that you may be wondering about, they don't have to investigate. Sometimes the investigation in a trial would cost more than just paying out.
And unless they think, like, realistically, they're not going to have to pay this out, they're not going to pay for the investigation.
Right. And the average person, a lot of times you would hear somebody be like, I don't understand why my insurance company paid for a car accident. I wasn't at fault.
Right.
Well, guess what? The insurance company does not have the time, care, or need to investigate every single car accident that happens.
Right.
Kind of like if it's cheaper to keep her, they're going to go ahead and keep her.
Yeah.
Not all the time do they do investigations. I feel like this one, they probably did do an investigation to an extent that she was injured on the property, not for her wrongful death. I think it's been promoted through the media that they paid out wrongful death.
Right.
But we don't have proof of that.
No.
On FOIA, I've looked for documentation showing what the insurance company paid for. There's no information. So we don't even know if it was only one insurance company that paid out, because like I said, that was a lot of money to pay out for one policy.
Yeah.
Most policies do not have limits like that. Well, they could have had an umbrella.
Yeah.
And the umbrella could have paid out as well. And the umbrella company isn't going to investigate on top of the home insurance company. Once the home insurance company accepts responsibility, your umbrella follows along with it.
Yeah.
So even if they are separate companies,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. As long as it's been shown that you are liable, because your home and auto will pick up first.
Right.
Depending on where it occurs. So if it's in a car, it's always going to be your auto first and then your umbrella. If it's at your home or just by your mouth, there's no vehicle involved, your home picks up first and then your umbrella. But I did understand where this person was curious of, well, why did they pay out if the death certificate doesn't say anything regarding the death being resulted from an accident on the property? That's because they probably weren't paying for wrongful death.
Probably not, no.
They were paying for injury.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the quick little insurance tidbit for you today. Come back tomorrow.
So I hope that answered your question, Kim. And if not, let us know, and we can go into a deeper explanation.
And I mean, shameless plug, if you're in South or North Carolina, you can hit me up. I'll see what I can do to get you some coverage. Don't plan to use it for Murdaugh problems though, because I ain't about that biz. But
we ain't. But what's going on in Murdaugh land, Rachel?
All right, so today we're not going to talk about death. He didn't succeed, so there's no death. There's just a lot of money. This is not a crime. This is not a podcast about murders today.
Nope.
Our episode is strictly on money. So Alex Murdaugh, and we went over, he was an attorney in the Low Country. He was I still can't get over, a volunteer prosecutor, which I didn't even know you could volunteer yourself to prosecute. He is now facing up to 500 years in prison.
It's a long-ass time.
Yeah, a long, long time. And has been money traced of up to $6.7 million or more missing.
Yeah.
Many from people he knew personally. We're going to get into how he committed this money scheme.
Alleged money scheme. It's still in process, but
he's already admitted to some of them.
Okay.
So Gloria Seifield has been admitted to.
Okay.
as well as a police officer that he defended he didn't defend, he took to court for injuries on the job. So that's shitty. A couple of them he has already claimed, yes, I did do this. He has a total of 52 charges now. 48 are for financial crimes. One is a misdemeanor. I mean, I really have, this is the big quote that I was like, I can't remember what I was thinking, but I had a quote in my head that I want to use today. Mm-hmm. Is Alex's crimes a result of nature or nurture? Because if it's nurture, what else are the Murdaughs hiding?
Ooh.
Because as of right now, following the money, Alex is the only one out of this family that has a money problem.
Yeah.
They've all been raised the same way. They've all had the same careers. How did he come up with the scheme? So Alex had a scheme where he opened a bank account, and we went over this in past episodes, called Forge. Mm-hmm. It was all done legally. He opened the account in his own name, using his own social security number. The account was just different, a little bit different from the actual company, Forge, that handles settlements. And he was having money funneled from settlements he was receiving in court into this account. And then this account he'd pay for his own whatevers. Mm-hmm. According to him, he's had a 20-year drug addiction. Now, unfortunately, opioid drug addiction is something we have all experienced in somebody we know.
Yes.
At this point. It is an epidemic.
Yes.
To me, it is more dangerous at this point than most of the things that we're facing in society.
I agree. I mean, when the country or your state or whatever is telling you to carry around Narcan, that tells you something's wrong.
If your Narcan is attached the same as your weapon as a police officer, there's a problem.
Yep. So,
20 years of a opioid addiction. How are you battling these cases? How does no one notice?
Yeah, because if you're on drugs...
20 years.
Yeah,
this isn't like he was doing it for... So, at the time, in September of this year, 2021, he makes this announcement that since his son and wife were murdered, he's been suffering greatly with his drug addiction that he's had for 20 years. Okay. I can see from the time of the murders to that point, there may have been a drug addiction started. Mm-hmm. I cannot see how you go back and all of these cases, opioid addicts have many tall tale signs. Mm-hmm. They slur their words. They aren't able to focus. There's a lot of things, especially as an attorney, where you have to be quick.
Yeah.
You have to be on your P's and Q's and have comebacks a lot faster than the average person.
Yeah.
Especially in trials. And it wasn't like he was just handling the paperwork. He was going to court. He was going and talking with judges and in pursuits all over.
Yeah,
Nobody
there's no
noticed.
way you were heavy on drugs.
No. My next question is, nobody noticed after all these years of doing his books, like his money books, where this money was going into the account that shouldn't have been going to?
Yeah, that's what I was sitting here thinking. If it was his name and his social security number, but it was this quote Forge thing, how did nobody catch that?
Okay, so that part I can understand. I can understand how the bank didn't catch it.
Yeah, I can understand how the bank didn't catch it.
Because to me, it's really funny right now that they want to prosecute the bank and they think that that they were in cahoots. Guess what? Bank of America does not give a fuck what Alex Murdaugh was doing.
No.
He was following every standard. He was opening an account. He told him how much would be going in and out of it. He followed everything.
If there were fees, he was paying them.
Yep. Everything that was normal for a settlement division to handle. And he could have opened that account legally, no problem.
Yeah.
But where was the accountants for the law firm? How did the law firm never figure out that this money was missing? And it wasn't like $30,000.
No.
It wasn't $100,000. I mean, we were in the millions of missing money. And nobody ever had question. Nobody thought, what the fuck? And why? And everybody who was loaning him money within the law firm.
Yeah.
Nobody questioned why he needed this loan. Like, you guys work in the same law firm. You guys make the same money. I mean, yes, they get to choose how much they charge for their cases, but it's all about the same. I mean, you can't, outrageously rape somebody in a case charge when they can go to attorney in the next office over and be like, I don't want to pay that much. You know, how much are you offering?
Yeah.
So it has to be all within the same.
So it does have to be all within the same realm of as far as like how much they were charging and what they were making.
Right. I mean, it couldn't be just some crazy thing. So why did they think he needed a $150,000 loan or a $95,000 loan?
Yeah. Also, that's a lot of money to loan out.
Well, I mean,
and I understand they were making good money, but still, that's a lot of money to loan out without asking questions.
Without asking questions is my part. Because I can see, like, if I was relevance in how much money. So I can think back to when $100 for me would be a lot.
Yeah.
As a waitress to loan somebody.
Yeah.
And as I gotten older, I mean, I probably would still see if there was more going on just as a friend.
Yeah.
To know why you needed to borrow more than $100 today even.
Yeah.
But I probably still loan it.
Yeah, like if you said, "Hey, I need $20. Here you go."
Yeah, like
I'm not gonna ask, but if it's 100 and upward, I'm gonna ask questions because A, I'm concerned about you. I want to make sure you're okay. Do you need more than $100? Is something going on? Do you have food? Do you have all these things that you need?
Right.
And B, I'm also gonna make sure because if you even give me a hint of a doubt that you might have some kind of addiction going on, I'm gonna know.
I think relevance to how much, like, for me and what I make a month, yes, $150,000 would be a lot to loan to somebody.
Yeah.
But if I'm somebody who is making, $1 million a year or whatever.
Yeah, it's like nothing to them. But still, it's still a lot of money in the fact of loaning it out.
But you see this person every day.
Yeah.
I would still ask questions of why. But if they gave me a reasonable, like, oh, I want to, I need to move some money around and I'm trying to put a down payment on this purchase or whatever.
Yeah.
And it would be a normal, if it sounded realistic and I had it, yeah, I'd probably loan it to the right person.
Yeah.
And this was a family built and ran law firm. Like, obviously they're not all family, but they've all raised together. They've known each other. It wasn't questionable in this dollar amount. What's questionable is they never asked why.
Or at least as far as we know, they never asked why. I mean, they could have been asked why, and he gave some bullshit explanation, like you just said, of like, I need to move money around in order to get something. Because I'm sure, like, if you make that much money, you have money in different accounts.
Oh, yeah.
You're investing money. Money's going different places.
Yeah, like even if somebody asked me today if they could borrow something, I'd probably still have to move money to get it for them.
Yeah.
Because I try to keep my non-bill money
separate.
I have a spending habit. So I know that if it's easy to swipe, it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
But if it's put somewhere in a little safer account that's not as accessible, then I'm going to save it better.
Yeah, something that you don't have a card to, that's not, like, you'd have to go to the bank and move it.
So I can see where if it was that situation, again, I don't know what the situation was, but I can see it.
Yeah.
I just have a lot of questions of how though, that nobody else in this office, like, even as an insurance agent.
Yeah, you're working with these people every day. They wouldn't notice if you had a drug problem, I feel like.
Yeah, no?
Like, even, like, some weeks I'm with you every day, and sometimes I'm only with you, like, a couple times a week, or sometimes, like, just recently, where we go a couple weeks without seeing each other. Regardless, I'm still gonna know if something's going on with you. I'm gonna know if you're on drugs. I'm gonna know if you have problems.
To a certain extent, you're gonna know something is off.
Yeah.
My question is, how were the people that he was around every day know that this was only Alex? So had they not been around prior to the opioid addiction?
Oh, that's a good
point. So
this
was just
that's just how he is.
Yeah.
Because, I mean...
But I just can't get over the fact that going to trial... Like, I have been in courtrooms. I was a paralegal student. I had to spend so many hours watching litigation. I watch trials on TV. I see how objection... Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not...
Yeah, they're like, fucking...
There's no time in between to...
Like, you don't have 5 minutes to object what they just said.
Yeah.
You can't go back and object it.
Yeah. By that point, the jury's already heard too much. Yeah. Is ruined. And even at times where the jury does hear and you do object immediately, you then have to quickly think of why the jury should ignore what they just heard. And I just don't see how that could be possible on an opioid addiction. I mean... You
have to, like... Because it's in the moment.
Yeah. I worked with a guy who... I'm sure he doesn't listen, but I worked with a guy that was probably one of the closest friends I ever had at this job. Mm-hmm. And I worked with him before he had an addiction, up until the addiction started, like the process up until it, during the addiction, all the way until he went to prison. And I saw the difference in him slowly. And it wasn't like he was violent or things like that, but just little things that would have been For example, we used to have this thing where we throw plates at each other in the restaurant. And he can no longer do that. Like, he would not have the reaction time to grab that plate.
Yeah.
There was a lot of broken plates. And that's when it started getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Or, like, timing on the grill, because we worked in a restaurant. Timing on the grill would be completely off. And he was always on it.
Yeah.
So, like, you notice little things, especially in a workplace. So if I could see that in a restaurant, I cannot imagine what it looked like in a courtroom. So was it a really true addiction?
Exactly.
Did he really have an opioid addiction?
Or were you casually doing some kind of drugs that maybe in your downtime you were, like, because some people can do that. More power to you. You know.
More power to you, and
I don't think you should, but do you, boo-boo.
So, in the realm of drugs and in the law field, primarily what you hear about is cocaine addictions. Because they need more energy to be able to finish a case. They need to be wound up.
That I could understand.
And,
I could see.
But then I can also see, like, the opioid addiction to counteract the cocaine addiction. Like, let's say you do cocaine all day long, and then you need to go to bed. Maybe you take the opioids to go to bed, but there's other ways, like, I couldn't see why you would use opioids to go to sleep.
No.
Either way, he has now had so many different charges brought against him, and he just blames it all on the opioids. Guess what? Again, we're in an epidemic for an opioid addiction. If every fucking criminal who has an opioid addiction blamed it on the drugs...
and got it off because they blamed it on the drugs.
We wouldn't need a prison system.
Nope.
We wouldn't. So I'm sorry you had an opioid addiction, regardless if it's true or not, but you still did the crime, boo. You're going to do the time up to 500 years at this point. So let's get in some big highlights.
So let's talk about what started this whole downfall of Alex Murdaugh.
Well, nobody hears of Alex Murdaugh's money schemes until the weekend of Labor Day. On Labor Day weekend, this fool decides that, supposedly, allegedly, this is all alleged because...
there is still court cases going on. Things are happening. We can't say.
I don't know. I wasn't there. He makes a 911 call to say that he has been shot. And while he was changing a tire, a person pulled over pretending to help him and then shot him. The person was nowhere to be seen at the time when ambulances and everything finally happened. Mm-hmm. Nobody's there. The next day it is released that this man paid someone to kill him in a botched suicide attempt for a $10 million life insurance policy. Now, I have seen people talking about how if you commit suicide, your insurance policy doesn't pay out. That's not true. There is a clause, and that's not true for all of them. There is a clause in most of them that say after 2 years, you can commit suicide and it'll pay out.
Okay.
Some of them do have no suicide clauses, but a majority of the private ones...
and when we say private, we don't, like
so like
the one you get through, yeah.
Yeah, your work one probably won't pay you if
probably
you commit suicide. But if you go and you purchase a private policy through an agent on your own, most of the time, after 2 years, you can commit suicide and your family will be paid.
Don't commit suicide.
Do not commit suicide, and do not take what I'm saying as end all be all. For one, I don't write life insurance. I do not have a license in life insurance. I do not have any contracts for life insurance. I'm just knowing by research I have done. You can look at your own life insurance policy, determine if you can commit suicide. I'd rather you just pick up the phone and call 1-800-SUICIDE hotlines. You can message me. I'm not much of a help. I'll make life look funnier.
Yeah,
if that will help you.
We got you.
I mean, but just saying that, yes, he's an idiot to try to commit suicide, but people were saying, oh, well, his policy wouldn't have even paid out.
It would have, because it most likely would have.
Yeah.
I've done the research too. More than likely, because it was a private policy, it would have paid out.
Yeah.
He could have just killed himself and not done all this mess.
The person that he paid has had lots of drama surrounding him.
He does have lots of drama.
Do you know they're actually related?
You told me that.
Okay. Curtis Edwards?
Yes.
Curtis Edwards has been arrested and charged with multiple crimes related to that day in Labor Day weekend of Alex Murdaugh.
Apologize. Curtis Edward Smith is his full name. Smith.
Okay, I'm sorry. You should have known that. That's your last name.
Yes, I know all the Smiths.
I'm just saying it would have been easier to remember. They call him Cousin Eddie right now, I think. They are long line related. Curtis Edward Smith had done odd jobs for Alex throughout the years. He'd also used Alex in a personal injury case. They had connections over the years. Allegedly, according to Mr. Smith, Alex called him on that Labor Day weekend, asked him to bring the truck over to do some work, and then later on his way over called and told him to meet him on this road. According to Mr. Smith, he had no idea why he needed him to meet him on this road. He was kind of used to Alex just coming up with random projects he needed to do, giving him some money and calling it a day.
Yeah, kind of helping out family.
Yeah, but not knowing that they're not claiming each other as family until it was no other choice.
Yeah.
They had a friendship of weird nature. After this botched suicide attempt, it is all brought into light that he is trying to commit suicide because the law firm has now suspended him at that point or terminated him, which is really funny to be terminated from your own family law firm. Luckily, his brother still works there, so they don't have to remove the M from the pimp. But that's what a lot of people have been calling it.
I mean, yeah.
But yes, so he is removed from the law office. He feels like there's no other way to end his addiction, supposedly. There's no other way to end his addiction, and the $10 million would help Buster, his only surviving son at this time.
Mm-hmm. But
he just opened Pandora's box for them to see everything else that he has done. And I think he knew that when they fired him with the money problem, because that's when they supposedly realized Labor Day, or that Friday before Labor Day, that he had a bunch of missing money.
Yeah.
And he tried to take the coward's way out instead of now facing 500 years in prison.
So then he goes to the hospital. He's airlifted to the hospital.
Yes.
Then he goes to a rehab facility and then gets pulled from the rehab facility to face the charges because everything comes out that this was all a setup.
Yes.
It's insurance fraud.
It was all insurance fraud. There is a lot of question about that hearing, about his head injury.
Yeah, I have questions too.
Okay, so I have listened to a trauma doctor about his injuries, and he has seen part of the medical report from, not all of it, because part of it was released for
HIPAA.
access. Yeah.
Things can't be completely released.
Well, they can if you agree to it.
Yeah.
But some things were retracted from it. There was a head wound. It was, when they say superficial, any head wound is going to be considered a trauma.
Yes.
It does not matter the level it is. You're bleeding from the head, that is a traumatic head wound.
Because the head bleeds a lot.
Right. There was, and you can't see it in the hearing. I feel like you go back and watch the hearing from that following week where he is getting his first bond hearing. According to the trauma doctor, while his wounds may have been superficial to the public, as a doctor, you are going to take any gunshot wound to the head as a high and aggravated nature of, we need to get this guy looked at.
Right.
They are going to do at least a 48-hour watch because a concussion can happen, can show symptoms at any time. Mm-hmm. He was hit in the head.
Yeah.
Now, could it have been from a bullet ricocheting and just grazing him? Yep, it could have. It was very minimal damage. There was nothing above the skull. So the skull was damaged, but the brain was not.
Yeah.
But the doctor couldn't say either way if it was from a ricocheted bullet or a bullet that went just missing. Mr. Smith does say, Curtis Smith does say, that the gun did go off while they were fighting over it because he did not want to shoot Alex and they were fighting over the gun and the gun did go off. He swears that he never hit Alex with the bullet though.
Yeah.
Although there were witnesses that when they drove by, there was blood. Was it a lot of blood? No. But there was blood.
Yeah.
I mean, any head wound is going to have blood.
Yes. You could just barely scrape your head on something.
Yeah.
And it's going to bleed like hell because it's a head wound. Heads bleed.
Right. He swears he never hit him with the bullet.
Could that be a mistake of just maybe you didn't realize it hit him?
Or that it ricocheted off the car and hit him.
Right.
But according to the trauma doctor, he was hit with something when he was airlifted.
Yeah.
Now, people question, okay, well, his opioid addiction. Well, why didn't it show how much opioids he had in the system to prove that he had an opioid addiction? Well, that's because as soon as they put him into life flight to go to trauma, he was given drugs for pain. The test that they used does not measure at the ER. It did not measure how much was already in his system. It just measured enough for that. There's a longer test you'd have to do to determine if there was a longer addiction.
Right.
So we get all that out of the way. Man's crazy.
Yep.
Stupid.
Also, I love all the interview that Curtis Smith gave with his lawyer.
Okay, so I do too, but now I have more questions.
Oh, I have plenty of questions.
Because there is multiple not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, we're looking at, I think, over 50 cashier's checks that were written out to Curtis Edward Smith. But then again, you have to go back, well, he would do work for Alex.
Yeah.
So were these cashier's checks used for work? But they're saying it's like $2 million or something.
Yeah.
This man lives in a freaking trailer.
I don't think it was that much.
In a cheap down. So what was he doing with the cashier's checks in his name? Does he have another account in Curtis's name that he was using? Because a cashier's check is no different than a regular check, but it's just certified. It's kind of like if you went and bought a gift card.
Yeah, that's guaranteed the money is there.
Yeah, and the same way with a cashier's check. It's guaranteed that this will not bounce because it's purchased using that money.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, where did that money go? After this botched suicide attempt and the law firm's already investigating, now you have police officers investigating all this money too.
Yep.
Because your stupid self decided you were going to try to commit suicide for $10 million.
You know, you decide you're going to commit suicide. You decide, okay, I'm going to die. That's going to be the end of it. Because your drug addiction, you want to make sure your son's taken care of.
Why bring someone else into it?
What? Yeah, exactly. Why did you bring somebody else into it? Why not just do it yourself?
Only for $10,000? I'm sorry, Victoria. I love you. But I wouldn't kill you for $10,000 even if you wanted it.
Nope.
Now, I'm all for mercy death.
Yes.
Like, if you have legitimate reasons why your life is no longer suitable for this side of Earth, I agree that you should be able to terminate your own life
100%.
at that point.
But I just talked about this with you about a director or something in the country of Colombia where assisted suicide is legal, or they called it euthanasia, is legal because his quality of life, he had gone through so much cancer and stuff and was again
Why
diagnosed.
is it okay for our pets?
Yes.
If it's okay for me to say that my dog is suffering,
yes,
and is no longer living the quality of life that it should, why is it okay in everyone's mind to put their animal down? But I'm sorry, if I got to a point where my quality of life was no longer enjoyable, I was a burden on the people that loved me, and I was just prolonging I know we're all prolonging the inevitable. But I think after a certain extent of medical intervention, if it's not working, and I'm just ready to go see the other side, whatever's next, that's up to me.
I agree.
But I'm not going to do it for you for $10,000. Sorry. No.
Not worth it.
Not in this country.
Nope.
If it was illegal, maybe. If it wouldn't be considered murder.
Yeah.
And that was like I'm not giving this for you to kill me. I'm just giving this to you as my end of life gift. And I just can't do this myself. Could you help me?
Yeah.
Then yes. Then I would take it.
I can see that. But I probably still couldn't do it.
No, if you were suffering to the point, yeah, I could.
I don't know, I love you.
I love you too, but I wouldn't want you to. I mean, if you had tried all your medical, like everything medical wise, and we've been through X, Y, and Z, and nothing has gotten to the point of fix.
Yeah.
And
you were that bad.
At the end, I mean, if you were already at the end of life age time, anyways, I wouldn't want my memory of you to be withering away.
But I wouldn't want my last memory of you to be me killing you either.
But I wouldn't look at it like that. I would be looking at it like giving you your adventure to your next journey. Yeah. But I look at death like there has to be something else. So that's just me. I mean, don't worry, I'm not going to kill you.
Thanks.
But
I'm not going to kill you either.
I don't understand for only $10,000 why you would agree to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Alex is swearing he agreed to it and took the $10,000.
And Curtis is like, the fuck I did.
Yeah. They've also claimed that his opioid addiction was fed through Mr. Smith.
And again, we circle back to the Outlaws? Cowboys?
Cowboys.
The Cowboys.
Yes. So now they're trying to affiliate Alex with a low country gang called the Cowboys.
Again, that's why I said Outlaws, is because it makes more sense if they called them Outlaws instead of Cowboys. Like, calm the fuck down.
You know? But there is another gang called the Outlaws.
I know, but still.
So maybe that's
why couldn't we have joined cahoots?
I don't know.
But Cowboys, they're known for, like, drugs.
You're right. So as of November 1st, South Carolina grand jury was looking at drug money trail from Alex Murdaugh to the Low Country gang, the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So this big ass fucking attorney is involved with, and we don't know if it's true. I'm just saying, like, think about the conspiracy if it is true. How many of those gang members got away with X, Y, and Z because of Buddy Buddy?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know from, again, being in the court systems, you know, not as a criminal, but as somebody watching and in that field, I saw it happen on a more, not as grand.
Yeah.
But I did see crimes that were going on that were pled down to lesser charges, and you can tell within the courtroom who was friends.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, how many of these gangsters got away with whatever because of Alex Murdaugh?
I agree.
But then back in 2017, a bunch of them were charged.
Yeah.
And convicted.
Yeah.
So if you were buddy-buddy with them, wouldn't you have...
But maybe if you're saying it's a bunch of them, though, maybe there's only so many he could go with and not have issues. You know what I'm saying?
8 members of the Cowboys gang was sentenced to prison for attempted murder. So how many of them has he gotten out? If 8?
Yeah.
Or was he really ever, and this is why those 8 got convicted?
Right. We don't know if they were actually connected. It's just a theory, and the grand jury's looking into it to see if they actually were connected. We don't know.
I need to know.
I mean, yeah, I need to know. I want to know. It's driving me insane. There's a lot going on there.
I'm glad I'm not... I've listened to a money laundering investigator on this case. Mm-hmm. That sounds like the most boring fucking job you could ever imagine. Because, like, think about... There's a lot of shows now that go over money laundering. Breaking Bad. What was the one I watched the other day?
Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy. A lot of the crime... like drama shows, not like the actual, they're not crime shows, but like drama.
Yeah.
They have a lot of money laundering happen within, and it looks like fun. You know what I mean? It looks like a move it around.
I don't understand money laundering. It confuses the shit out of me. I've tried to research it to understand like the laws and understand what's happening when somebody's has money laundering issues. I don't fucking get it.
So, one of the ways that they catch you is if you ever heard don't move $10,000 from bank account to bank account.
Yeah.
Anything under $10,000 you can withdraw without a problem. But once you hit $10,000, there's a problem. Mm-hmm. That is an alert that is set up within the national bank system that you have to be able to account for whatever you did with that $10,000 or more dollars. And it's constantly being like alerted. So anytime an account, once it alerts, they look at that person in whole. So if that person is normally managing $10,000 or more dollars at a time, and it's a normal everyday occurrence, it would probably just move on by. Now, if a waitress or a student moved $10,000 in or out of their account, that's when the alert would go off and they would start investigating.
But isn't it weird? But why are they watching people's accounts so closely?
So it was part of, I know they did mention the Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
Part of that was alerted, brought into part of that in 2001 or 2002. But also, why wouldn't they?
I just don't feel like it's the government's business what's going on with people's money.
Oh, I agree. But if they are worried, how else are they going to catch crimes? Like drug addicts, unless you are pulled over with the drugs in the car, you know what I mean? Unless there's evidence, you need to be pointed in a direction of why to start looking at that person.
Yeah.
But why 10,000?
Yeah, why is that your
golden
magic number? That's weird.
I don't know. But just listening to how they trace the money, I'm like, that is the most boring fucking thing I could ever imagine. And then I was watching a show where he's an IRS investigator for money laundering. And it's like, this is stupid. Like, who would want to go to school? Like, this is not the kind of cop I'd want to be.
No, that seems so boring.
You're literally just watching money move back and forth and up and down and adding and totaling and tracing purchases and anything, though, that was purchased with money that was not his. So let's say he bought a house or a car or a boat, anything, and that they can trace that money from his crimes, technically they can take.
So here's my question, because I thought about this. If the money that he laundered in this case from all these different settlements, if he used that money to pay for his children's education, what happens?
You can't take back the education.
Right, you can't take it back, but can they get, Buster's still in school?
So unless they can if they can prove it, they're going to just take the rest of the money away.
Okay. See, that's
but
what
they can't take back his education.
Well, I know they can't take back his education, but I'm saying if they're able to look and see that his education, which I don't know how his education's funded, I don't know if he has scholarships, I don't know. But if his education or Paul's education was being funded by this, do you take, that's what I was wondering, do you take the rest out and say, okay, we'll figure it the fuck out?
I'm sure that's what they would do.
Right, that's what I was wondering. Because, because obviously, if they say, okay, well, you say he had another home somewhere, and they're like, okay, ours. We're going to sell it to get the money back. Who's taking the money? Where does the money... After they say okay, we know he paid for X, Y, and Z. We're going to take X, Y, and Z and sell it to get the money back. Where does the money go?
Supposedly it goes back to the victims. Supposedly. But if...
Then where the fuck is the government in it? Are they getting a cut? I think they're getting a cut.
Oh, I'm sure they do get a cut. Much like how there's a lot of argument, I don't know if you've heard the latest attorneys banter about some of the people who were paid back out of his crimes already. Those attorneys are saying, well, no, they weren't paid back because they made choices at the time of their settlements based on what they knew. So they knew they had, say, 40,000, but in reality they had 140,000. Well, 140,000 is going to give you a much different life than $40,000 does. Mm-hmm. And so they're saying that they should be given interest as well as pain and suffering and everything else from the money that they did not receive at the time of the case, which I agree with. If I had money in an account, now certain accounts are going to pay a better payout, like interest-wise. Mm-hmm. But let's say I just had a basic savings account. I'm going to make X, Y, and Z dollars each month, year, decade that money had been sitting there. But, I mean, how are they going to calculate? I'm sure they have calculations for, like, interest and those type of things. But how do they calculate the pain and suffering from lack of money?
Yeah.
And are they going to have to pay another attorney to fight for them to get the rest of what they deserve? Or are these attorneys doing this pro bono?
There's no way.
And how is he paying for Harpootlian right now? If he is broke,
yeah,
how is he paying for Harpootlian?
That's what I want to know, because he swears up and down. They swear up and down. There's no money. There's none. There's nothing. Bull fucking shit.
You are not working for free, boo.
You're not working for free. He has some fucking money some damn where.
He's paying you somehow.
Something's going on somewhere. There's money some damn where that's still hidden.
He is not a little attorney. This man, and we'll get into another case, but he is a high-powered attorney. There's money somewhere.
Yeah.
And as of right now, there's a lot of missing money and a lot of charges pending. And up to 500 years in prison he's facing. So if you have any more questions, reach out on my personal Facebook page and I will more than likely quickly answer you.
Yeah. But let's get back into what's going on with Alex Murdaugh.
Right now he's sitting in prison. He does have bond.
He does have bond. But
he has the highest bond in South Carolina history. I think we're looking at $7 million with no 10%. So he's going to sit in prison until someone...
Because according to them, there is no money he cannot pay to get out of prison. Even if there is money, I don't think he has that much sitting around. I don't think it's that much. Also, if he produced $7 million, they're going to be like, where the fuck where's you getting that?
What people don't understand about bond is if you were found guilty, you do not get the money back.
No.
And he is already admitted to many of these crimes.
Because he was out on bond, he got sent back to the rehab, got pulled for more charges.
He got bond denied at that point because then he was a flight risk, a harm to society. What did Eric Bland say he was? He was a villain with a pen or something.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of question if he was safe to be put back into society while waiting trial.
Right.
And then he finally got another bond hearing, which was a closed media. So media was allowed in, but they were not allowed to record. Right. They had to old school it, handwrite notes. And you can see the difference in media sources of what they took notes on and reported on. Either way, he does have bond, but he's not going to be able to
He's not going to be able to get out.
And even if he does pay, he'd be pretty stupid to do so because he's not going to get the $7 million back.
No.
He's not going to be found not guilty. He's already admitted to a lot of it. He may not be found guilty of all the charges. There's a great attorney out of Greenville who says, the more charges, the better. That's more of a way to negotiate.
Yeah, like we talked about this, like we're curious to see how many charges are actually going to stick.
How
many are going to dissipate? How many are going to be agreed to go down?
And while all of this is going on, we still have no information about the double homicide.
No.
So will he eventually be charged with this double homicide? We don't know.
We don't know.
But as of today, he sits in a low country jail awaiting trial that is probably within 5 years. Not for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
But he's looking at 500 years, so what's the big fucking rush?
Yeah.
Anyways, anything specific within the case of Alex Murdaugh do you want to mention?
I think it's a whole clusterfuck. We don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. Like I said, we did say earlier, like we're curious to see how many charges would actually stick out of these. How many did we say? 50-something?
Yeah. 48, I think.
Yeah, so, I mean...
Or that was 48 new charges on top. I don't remember, but there's a lot. There's more charges on this one guy than I've ever seen on a list of inmates.
Yeah, this is a lot. Like, I've seen people with, like, a fuck ton of charges. I have never seen it be that many.
Yeah.
So, I'm very curious.
And the drama that's erupting throughout this media, like the reporters at this point, is pretty funny. I mean, there's a lot of talk about my favorite Mandy Matney.
I love
for
her.
supposedly not checking a source and releasing pictures that she shouldn't have sent a link to show. So she didn't post the pictures.
But she
made the link obvious to the rest of the country or the rest of the world supposedly, and did not check the source to make sure that it wasn't an accident or anything like that. I don't think she should have had to. You are a professional company putting together a documentary.
Yeah.
If you fucked up and you made something
That's
public that should have been private, that's your problem.
Yeah, it's not her problem.
She shouldn't have to go check to see why you did that.
No, I agree.
But I don't have anything else. I think you need to watch the Oxygen episode on Deception and whatever it's called. Just look Alex Murdaugh, Oxygen, Deception. It's on YouTube. Check it out. It gives you a play-by-play of all of his charges, of all of the crimes, of all of the suspicion. It'll take the hours of looking I have done and condense it into an hour and 45 minutes.
Yep.
So do that. Have a nice day.
And go check out Mandy's podcast.
Yes. What is it called?
We've linked it before. We'll link it again.
I just like Mandy, and I'm sorry, people could talk shit about her. I personally like her.
Yep.
She's badass, because she was one of the first ones to start blasting them. Murdaugh Murders by Mandy Matney.
Highly suggest you check it out.
Part of Fitz News.
Highly suggest.
Yeah, it's good.
It's really good. All right, so that's where we're going to leave it. That's going to be the end of the Murdaugh Files, and we really hope you guys enjoyed this little series that we put together.
I'm really happy it's over.
We know it was kind of clusterfucked. It was a lot. You know, it is what it is. There is a lot of information floating around. That's why we say we're not investigative journalists. This is just for funsies. We have a nice time doing this. We would do it anyway. We just put it out for the public to hear instead of just keeping it in our little circle of just me and Rachel.
You know, I mean, if you really wondered what conversations go on at my house with Victoria, this is what it sounds like. Today's episode specifically.
So make sure to follow us on all our social media on the Tickety Talk. That I'm going to continue to say Tickety Talk because it irks some people and I like it. So be sure to follow us on the Tickety Talk, the Facebook, the Instagram, the YouTube machine. Be sure to like and rate us on Apple Podcasts, like and subscribe on YouTube if you are listening here. Join our Facebook group, Crime and Chill Fam, to talk more crime with us and ask us all the questions. I promise we are awesome. Thanks. See you guys next week. Bye.